All right, hello Tar Heel Nation. We are back with another edition of Get to Know Your Tar Heel Fans, and this week we have someone very near and dear to my heart. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Before we even begin, I just want to thank you for watching. I would like to encourage you that if you'd like to be interviewed and be on a Get to Know Your Tar Heel Fans edition, to please contact me, and I will throw that up there on Twitter. Contact me at alltarheeldan. On Google Plus, it's Dan DeWitt. That's DEWITT. You can email me at unchoopstalk@gmail.com. On YouTube, we'd love to have you not only like this video, of course, to subscribe, and you can comment on any one of those videos, and I'll get it and just let me know. But it's youtube.com/UNCHoopsTalk. And also, of course, the blog is always out there. It's unchoopstalk.blogspot.com. Check us out and become a fan and get on the show. We had a little hiatus last week. Ran out of interviews, and also I've just been crazy busy. June has been a crazy month so far, so didn't get a interview up last week. I apologize for that, and that's why we're taking care of this here at least today. And again, get more passionate, diehard Tar Heel fans to come on, contact me, and be interviewed for Get to Know Your Tar Heel Fans. So this week's guest, like I said, very near and dear to my heart, and by the end of this show, you're going to be very sick of me, but it is actually me. I'm going to interview myself, as weird as that is. Or maybe you think it's desperate, I don't know, but one of you suggested it, that since they suggested it for last week actually when I didn't have one, but just to make sure we have one this week, I'm going to interview myself. Whether you like it or not, hopefully you'll continue to follow along as we get more Tar Heel fans on here throughout the off season. Again, this is for Tar Heel fans to connect with each other a little bit easier. Hopefully make it a little more personal, so the connection is better than just a random follow on Twitter or whatever it is, Instagram follow, anything like that. But hopefully a little bit more intimate and better connection that we can make as a fan nation, as Tar Heel Nation. But yeah, without me continuing to ramble on, I'm going to go through the questions. I will, as long as I remember, try to say the questions before I answer them, because obviously I got both sides of it here. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you'll like this video on YouTube. I hope you subscribe to the channel to check out other interviews I've done, and also the podcast that we do once a month during the off season and weekly during the season. So jumping right in, I usually have them introduce themselves. I shouldn't need to introduce myself too much, as long as you've seen some other videos. But I am Dan DeWitt. Live here in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. Actually grew up more in upper Midwest, Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa area. But have always kind of been a diehard Tar Heel fan. Been to several games, but never actually lived there. As far as how it started, I'm not even really sure. I know my aunt is a huge Michael Jordan fan, and obviously that goes back to North Carolina. I'm a little bit too young for the Michael Jordan era. But back in my scrapbooks and pictures as a kid, I have pictures when I was just 7, 8 years old in North Carolina stuff. So somehow it got started, and that's usually the first question I ask people is, how long have you been a Tar Heel fan? So for me, it's as long as I can remember. And then also what started it, I'm not really sure what that is for me, but what brought it to another level was kind of the 96, 97, 98 teams. When we went from Jerry Stackhouse and Jeff McGinnis and Rasheed Wallace into Vince Carter, Ed Cota, Antoine Jameson, Shamad Williams, those kind of two teams, and especially the Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson one, that's what brought me to a whole new level of cheering on the Tar Heels and not allowing it to die out or change to a different team. It was definitely those guys. And of course, Dean Smith is right in there. even though it was just towards the end of his career that I really clinched onto the Tar Heels. But I can remember watching them beat the Fab Five in '93. Um, so it goes back a little bit farther than that, but that's really what brought it to a new level. So the next question I usually ask is favorite Tar Heel, and like many of the people that have come on these interviews, it's very, very tough to pick out just one. Um, Obviously, Tyler Hansborough, just everything he's done for the university, the way he represented it, how hard he worked, that he brought a championship to the North Carolina is awesome. So he would definitely be up there. One that doesn't get spoken of very often, or maybe not even very highly sometimes, Joseph Forte. I loved watching him play. He just seemed to have, for college anyway, had the complete game. He could, play point in college, at least bring the ball up and handle the ball. He had the mid-range. He could hit threes. He was a very good slasher. Defense was lacking for what we would kind of expect at North Carolina, but he was just a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, like I mentioned, Antoine Jameson, Vince Carter before, very, dear to me because, again, that's what brought it to a new level for me. It's what I really clinched onto was those guys, and Ed Cota too. You gotta appreciate Ed Cota, what he did for the University of North Carolina, being such a stable point guard for 4 years. So I know I didn't really narrow it down to one there, and there are many more. Sean May, Ray Felton, even Kendall Marshall, got to be up there. So several guys it could be, but those few guys that I mentioned definitely made it very very passionate for me to be a Tar Heel fan. So and then the next question usually is least favorite Dookie. And again, there are many of them. Top of the list has to be J.J. Redick, Christian Laettner. Again, he was a little bit before when I was a really passionate North Carolina fan, but even just if you go back and watch his videos, just so arrogant and not somebody want on your team as far as attitude-wise. And I know people talk about, he was win at all costs and all that stuff, but he could do it better than that. And Dean Smith showed us that we could. So those guys would be up there. Shane Batty, I never really liked him. And again, I could go on, but we'll try to keep this somewhat short at least, and I won't try to ramble on too much so you don't get too much of me. So how many games have I seen in person? And my favorite or best memory live in person. So I haven't been to a terrible lot of games, but my first North Carolina game was when they played in Cleveland against Cleveland State. The year, let's see, that would have been '04, the year before we won the championship. Well, I guess '03 because it hadn't won the tournament. It was November of '03 over Thanksgiving break. Saw them play. They were only up. I can still remember it like it was just they were up 6 at halftime. Not the way it was supposed to be. It was Roy Williams' first year back. But they did win that game, and then my first Dean Dome game was another one that they did not win as much as they should have. I don't remember who they played in that game. I saw them play against Michigan State up in Ford Field. I'm not sure if it was the Big Ten ACC Challenge that year or not, but it was the year of the '09 championship. But we played them during the season and just spanked them, and that was great to watch. I had pretty good seats for that game, and just awesome experience. And then I was also at the Final Four that year in Ford Field in Detroit. I was living there at the time, and so I saw them kill Villanova in the Final Four, and then absolutely take Michigan State apart again that year for the championship, and see Hansbrough get his national championship, and Bobby Frazier, and Ellington and Danny Green and all those guys get that championship. Obviously, something I'll never forget. And then this last season, I was at the Holy Cross game at the beginning of the year. We were kind of struggling. We barely beat Holy Cross, and then losing to Belmont 2 days later. Which I kind of predicted. I told my wife, hey, if they lose or if they only beat Holy Cross by that much, if they play anything like that against the Belmont, they're going to lose, and they did. So unfortunately, I called it, but and unfortunately, I had to watch it. It was pretty brutal, but not even that. What made it even worse, I was living here in Tennessee then this past season, and uh, we flew from into Raleigh. We flew from Nashville, and of course that's where Belmont University is. We actually had to fly on the plane back from Raleigh to Nashville with the whole Belmont coaching staff and team on the plane. So just kind of rubbed it in a little bit more. So it really stung. Obviously we turned it around somewhat from that. So that was good, but we won't get into that. Those are the games I've been to. Best memories, I'll never forget the first game I watched. Of course, I'll never forget the national championship. Hopefully, I'll forget the one loss I've seen in person. So, yeah, that about wraps that up. Let's see, and then I've added a question: where do you get your Tar Heel news from other than Twitter? For me, obviously Twitter is the majority. Other than that, GoHeels.com would probably be the one place I get the most, and then a little bit probably from Inside Carolina as well. And that's, let's see, expectations for the next year. I always ask them what they expect now coming in with a good class and a lot of people returning. I think we got a good chance to contend for national championship. I wouldn't say, it's not like the '09 year where you just favored the whole way and you expect it. And even '05 that year, we would expected it pretty heavily anyway. I wouldn't say it's that kind of contention, but I think we're in the top 5 or 6 teams that could win it or kind of be favored at the beginning of the year. Obviously, injuries could play a role in that. How quickly our freshmen get the system, get acclimated, and all that stuff will matter. But I really like this class coming in. Joe Barry will give Page a little bit more freedom to play off the ball, as we saw last season that he can do so well. Even though we won't necessarily like that, but to get 2-point guards in there, I think Joel will do a better job than what Nate did last year. Nate didn't quite catch on quick enough, I don't think, for it to be as effective as it could have. I love Justin Jackson's game. He's got the mid-range game. He's just, a scorer. And I don't think, like some scorers you say, well, he's got offense, but I don't think he's going to be a liability on defense at all. And then I think Pinson is just going to be very versatile. I've said before, I think he's going to be a Jackie Manuel, but with more offense with a shot. So I think he'll just be really versatile. I think all those guys can be not a big part, but a significant part to us. And obviously, replacing James Michael McAdoo, if Bryce can step up like I think a lot of people expect him to. Again, I would say we're going to make the Elite Eight. Good chance of the Final Four, and from there, you never know what's going to happen. But I think we can definitely be contenders. So my expectations is Elite Eight at least, and then anything else goes from there on. So yeah, that's my interview. That's all the questions. Hopefully this wasn't too long. Hopefully it wasn't too painful for you. Hopefully you made it through. And if you did enjoy it, again, please hit that like button on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Share it out to other Tar Heel fans that your friends, your family, whatever. If you know they're a Tar Heel fan, share it out and encourage them to contact me to come on to a Get to Know Your Tar Heels fan edition. I'd love to have any and all of you. We've got plenty of weeks of the off season left to fill, so please contact me. Again, best places to do that: Twitter @AllTarHeelDan. On Google Plus, it's just Dan DeWitt. Email me at unchoopstalk@gmail.com, and also check out the blog at unchoopstalk.com. unchoopstalk.blogspot.com. Sorry, and then the YouTube, if that's not where you're watching, it's youtube.com/UNCHoopstalk. Again, subscribe there. Let's unite Tar Heel Nation, and let's get through this off season a little bit quicker and a little bit more united. So thanks for joining, and look forward to next week's interview. Until next time, go Heels.